We should have everybody coming in now. So
Yeah.
hopefully
How many people are coming?
the internet will be working well.
Hello.
Good morning, everybody, or good evening, or good
Good
afternoon.
morning.
Good morning, all.
Morning.
Morning.
If you
Good
could keep
evening.
microphones on
Good
mute,
morning.
if possible. I'll put everyone on mute. Okay, so good morning, and we're lucky to have Philippe Paubert here today with us. I guess you can explain your role at Ungaro, Philippe, and also we're going to go through your sort of a bit of a journey as a fashion illustrator, artist, creative to, I guess, designer, print designer, all the many facets that you have, and also have a little look through your portfolio PDF to give everyone sort of examples of what you do, how you work in progress, and examples like that. So just a little introduction about yourself and about where you are now and how you're going. But thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. So my name is Philippe Paubert, and I've been working for Ungaro since '92, directly with Mr. Emmanuel at the beginning, and then as a freelance. So I'm always been a menswear, let's say, creative director. So I'm more, let's say, on the side of the product more than illustration. But menswear is always been my main, let's say, specialty. So I've been I did some classical studies, industrial design, that also give me this very product point of view. But I also the very classical, let's say, courses in an art school. So I'm also able to design prints, whatever. Everything is possible through and writing, let's say, like this.
And I guess because I've seen I've seen some of your work at the past and present, and it's amazing how all the different facets coming from doing print design to then print placement on an illustration and understanding proportion, the figure. And you were talking about your interest in graphic novels as well. So I think that's quite an interesting part to your sort of discipline as a sort of creative.
Yeah, I think it's due to my let's say industrial design side, which is very useful in menswear because menswear is very, let's say, technical and very precise, as you said. So proportion is so important, and very precise, easy to read sketch ability is also very important. So all of this is making me what I am.
And before we have a look at your work, I guess when I was in Paris and I was walking through the studios, and then I met Marie, and Marie was very excited to show me what you were doing, and which was great because my background as a sort of artist, illustrator, creative, and then to kind of be brought into a space where they're showing the sort of history and the love of drawing as a process for image making, as well as a way to convey concepts, and also to sell a product. So it was quite important to see how your workflow had gone across and really how they'd adopted this illustration style, because a lot of brands are going more into like Clo 3D, 3D design, which is quite nice to the sort of the house of Ungaro, is to have this sort of hand drawn feel to it. So it feels quite classic, mixed with these sort of prints. And I know you're using the iPad as well. Marie was saying that you're a wizard on the iPad.
Yeah. Recently, I always I always draw by hand since ever, and I think this is the best way to express your idea directly on paper. And recently, I discovered this last version of the iPad, and it's very useful too. So it's a very good tool, thanks to export on the computer and work with Illustrator. So I discovered this lot of possibilities through this iPad, especially giving you the, because Ungaro DNA is all about handwriting, and sketching, direct things. So you can do it on the iPad, and also you can keep the transparency through the print. So I will show you afterwards. Very, very interesting. So paper is fantastic, but this technique that you can have through iPad is even more interesting in these terms. So now we are printing, with inkjets, which give you more technical possibility to translate like shadings or transparency, etc., etc.
Yeah, and I've seen that, so it's quite fascinating to see how you're working in that way. So it would be good if your internet can handle it. Let's see if you can share your PDF so we can have a look through some of your work.
Sure. Can you see it?
Yep, perfect.
So this is pictures of Ungaro from a campaign from the past. So showing what is very important as a menswear for Ungaro is Mr. Ungaro called his men liquid. So we try to translate this through patterns, through fabrics, through attitudes, through everything. So the liquid man, that's the keyword of Ungaro. So these are things from the 90s when we were doing some shows. These are hand sketching made with Pantones on a more classical, historical way of drawing. These are more recent, still using classical ink and Pantones, and always trying to express, readable sketches, easy to understand for people or pattern maker or whatever, commercial. So always trying to give this movement. And if I'm too fast, tell me.
No, good. And
So,
I was just thinking about the styling of it because there's quite a sort of style to the man of Ungaro. Do you kind of do a bit of research into the muse of who the Ungaro man is?
Mr. Ungaro always said that his man is very arty. He's belonging to the left bank of Paris. He's living around Saint-Germain. He is more an artist than a banker. He's more a poet than a commercial guy. He's also very liquid in his attitude. He's not formal too much. He's very elegant but casual, using different textures. He's free also to match things together. That's very important in our DNA. This ability to match patterns together without thinking too much.
Yeah.
And those are sketches that was done recently, also working with some license, because we are very much in license, to express the fabrics, because we were developing exclusive fabric with a Biela manufacturer, and we were selling for made to measure, etc. So it was expressing the Ungaro world of, through these textures, real fabric, also combining real sketches with real fabric. Of course, with different way of of matching things together, but always the attitude. If you see the guy is always. Also, it's important to in your hand sketching to keep the nature of the fabric. If it's light or crispy or soft, so it's very important. So that's why the end styling is very important. So these are more recent. In this, you can see a change because this is now designed with a tablet that I will show you afterwards in details, but it'll give you the possibility to work in layers. And then the patterns are imported in Illustrator. So I will show you how I do that. So as you can see, trying to always express this softness, patterns, Ungaro's patterns, Ungaro's color. So of course I'm using a lot of documents. I am collecting a lot of pictures of guys, different attitude, and you will see afterwards how I make them. So as a product designer for Ungaro, we always do some mood boards. So we have a full concept where we extract colors, materials, and also what will be the spirit of the season. So obviously this was about Japan, about traditional engraving, etc. So this was some textile from this season. So are more figurative. Some are more, because the dot, you know, the polka dot at Ungaro is always very important in the DNA. So you can see the transparency on the top, on the dots. And then it's the same with the flowers. I sketch those flowers directly on the tablet, different layers, and then move them in Illustrator and combine everything to have this all of the patterns. And here you have the example of how I developed this. So I collect some, of course, some archive from pictures. So I designed the samurai without the head. I took the head from the tiger, draw it on the tablet, and then I move it in Illustrator. So you can see the layers here with a repeat, also textures, and you have this. This is more about how I'm sketching now with the tablet. So I start with as on paper with a very quick rough, putting everything together, the silhouettes, the proportions, everything. So you can go in details. And after I go, you can see on the bottom with the layers on the tablet, you can like a traditional cartoonist. I can draw with different colors and go more in detail. So I start with the rough and go gradually to something more precise, using, of course, some documents, images, real guys wearing things to understand how is a pleat happening, how is everything moving. And here you have the final illustration, which is in Illustrator. So you have the black and white, and I use some geometrical, let's say, patterns and fill them. So again, it's about layers. So it's a way to every single part of the garment has a different part. So the pattern is moving, the pattern is following a little bit the movement. So this was more about a summer collection, continuing the trend of we are looking east around Japan. And this is another example. This is more, this was done more on Illustrator. So it's a camo with our logo. And I introduce a background. And then I move it in onto the silhouette. So same here, you can see the guy, very rough, proportions, and then gradually coming with the black on the layers to finalize the product and have really something very precise and readable. And so you can see here again the sketch, the black and white, and the patterns in situation. So this is an example of a pattern. So it was done on the tablet. So directly, I designed directly all layers. You have a yellow layers, you have some purple layers. So everything is done on a level on the tablet. Then move to Illustrator, and Illustrator is making the repeat. Yeah. So I play with transparency, opacity, and that make it like this, which is very difficult to obtain on a paper with a watercolor, because you have to use Photoshop, and it's really more difficult. And this is how I do it. So as I said, DNA of Ungaro is hand sketching. So directly on the tablet. So different layers. You can use different pencil, different brushes. There is a lot of brushes available on the tablet, like this, which is a very good imitation of watercolors. So you play with this, you play with layers, everything. You make it like on paper. And then it moved to Illustrator. You can see the different layers are still there. So I did another thing with some dots, moving dots, like on a kind of camo dots. And my intention on this was to put everything together, playing with opacity. And you can see on the bottom, opacity has different patterns, and then you put a solid ground, and you have something which is more colorful thing. So that's mainly my work.
Excellent.
Not everything, but
no, I think it's nice to if you want to unshare that so we can see you. But I guess what I guess some people don't realize is your movement between all the different softwares from like if you were using Photoshop, or if you're using Procreate on the iPad like Fresco, and then bringing bits into Illustrator, because when we were talking, you were saying it does a really good repeat. Like you can use the repeat tool in Illustrator, so it's really good to work with that repeat. And then you kind of bring it back again, bringing it into even Photoshop to then put it on the body, back onto your illustration. Exactly. Are you using Procreate or Photoshop or Fresco? What are you using?
I'm using Fresco.
Okay. And did you
so
try?
Basically, I use a lot Fresco and Illustrator.
Yeah, because I guess Fresco is very similar to Procreate. Why did you choose Fresco?
Because it was available on the tablet, and it was there, and I started with this, and I get comfortable with it. So
yeah, I guess it's quite similar. And I think the importing, it would be interesting to see the importing from Illustrator to Fresco. It's quite seamless because it's Adobe. Fresco is owned by Adobe, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So no,
it's very easy, because you have your Fresco layers, and you export in PDF, and then you open it in Illustrator, and you still have your layers, so you can play.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Fresco. Yeah, I think that's the reason for using Fresco, is you can transport between all the Adobe files quite easily, rather than if you were using Procreate. It's not. I don't think the workflow is the same, which is quite interesting to see. With the trends. So when you selected Japan or the East as the trend, what makes you come up with the trends? Because what part of the brief is for people to initiate their own trend, to come up with their own theme. And is there a reason behind why you went East? Is that because for commercial reasons, or you just went with the wind?
At this stage, it's always more with, let's say, the nose more than the commercial. It's all about your experience, your feeling, your understanding of the trend. Clearly, there is a trend on being less precise. There is a lot of blurry things. So I was very interested in this. But also on the other hand, we are very ethnical because our inspiration at Ungaro is always Africa. Wherever there is something ethnical, we are interested in. So we were very much in Africa. So, fashion needs to renew, to refresh, blah, blah, blah. So we were very much Africa. So I decided to move also to this more east, it could be Japan, could be everything. But it's also related to the engraving, to the flowers, Japanese flowers, the lotus flowers, everything. It's not because it's Japan, it's because it's related to the graphic of Japan, the atmosphere of Japan, the more Zen attitude. So it was also the necessary evolution, which is following. We try to follow the trend, but we are, now the brand is very much important for the brand to dig his own DNA. And, of course, you have influence from the trends, but you have to keep yourself together, as a brand, put your DNA strongly, and then keep some influence coming, but it's not the opposite. You still are what you are, and you breathe from outside. So that is the most important thing, because at the end of the day, if it's Africa, Japan, South America, we are Ungaro. It's our man's is this guy fluid with all this influence, and he's living. You cannot be. At the end of the day, the product cannot be so literal.
Yeah. He's quite nomadic. The man is quite nomadic. I think that's what we were talking about.
Yeah. It's very nomadic, yes. It was a gypsy couture kind of atmosphere for the lady.
And is there ever a point where, because if you look at the history of Ungaro, there's moments where he does quite risky switches. Is there a moment where you think, let's really try something polar opposite? Like if you went Scandi, like to Sweden or Norway, more Viking based, or if you went more British, more punk, avant-garde, against the grain, is there moments where you kind of think, let's try something a bit more edgy at Ungaro, or do you feel that sort of over to the warmer Japan, it depends on where you cut, because I know Ungaro, for its florals, flowers, the decoration of flowers, you know that the flower world is something more heading towards Japan. There's an elegance and a sort of sensitivity to the Japanese way of the flower. I guess if you went more Mexico, is more rigid and stiff flowers. Have you done a Mexican vibe?
Not yet. I've been to Mexico last year, so I have something
bubbling away. Because the colors.
You were talking about punk, or it's this kind of atmosphere is probably interesting, but a little bit far from to express the real DNA of Ungaro, because you deserve to have to use black and strong and metal. We don't use a lot of metal. We try to avoid metal as far as possible. So it's a little more difficult to express Ungaro if you take a punk kind of inspiration.
Right. So it's nice, the subtleties. I think that was quite like the way you were talking about. The way that the brush marks are made is very translucent, very, like you were saying, the word fluid, I think is quite important. And I think when we talk about Africa and Japan, they have that sensitivity and that sort of color. The color mix is really good for Ungaro. So I think it's quite nice from that point of view. I don't know if anybody has any questions for Philippe from either a drawing point of view or from a print, and you can see he's moving between both spaces. So it's quite nice to see someone being quite agile in the way that he works, as a young creative. So if anyone's got any questions, or I think it's quite nice. I can see Marie on here. Marie might say something, but if anybody's got any thoughts, or you've said everything. I think we've hit jackpot, Philippe. But some of the questions I'd be thinking is about the man. So we've looked at the man, and you're thinking of the modern man, and we were talking he's quite nomadic, and the styling of the man is quite important. And referencing, I guess it's nice for people to find their own referencing. You just probably scour the internet like everyone else, Pinterest or photography or wherever. I guess you're doing that, similar to everybody else.
Books. Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. Brilliant. And I think
the thing is you can collect everything on Pinterest or whatever. The way you use it is the key, because everything is available to everyone. You know, my quite long career, at the beginning, you know, everyone was using the same picture of Cary Grant. You know, I was working at Celine, you know, there was very few pictures available, and everyone was referring to the elegant Cary Grant. You know, why not? But it's the way the brand is using this and making it happen, which is important. So yes, I collect from everything, but recently I go back to books, because it's where it's something more, let's say, because Pinterest or Instagram or whatever, it's very wide. So I think buying a book and keeping it as an inspiration is always very, very interesting, and very also helping your mind to be more focused. And even Emmanuel, he was giving me by season. Sometimes he was giving me some books. Like one time he gave me a book of woodblock print from India. He said, "Okay, this season it's us. Go." And I think I have, since the beginning, I keep this. I always buy a book. It could be a painter, it could be whatever. But a book is something very interesting to tell a story. He has a story inside, and it's a good reference.
I have a question.
Yes, far away.
Hi, Philippe. Thank you for your time. It's really nice to meet you. I'm wondering if there's anything new or different. This is a little bit of a vague question, but I was just curious if there's something different about this year or the next coming years as far as like the DNA of Ungaro menswear. Is there anything like emerging or new about this man's story that you have in mind, or is this pretty like staying true to kind of the way that it's been, or do you feel like anything is evolving now that it comes to mind that you want to mention as far as the sort of nomadic character, the DNA of the Ungaro fluid man?
Yeah, but we keep always, we try to be faithful to this DNA, that's for sure. And the market is always in evolution, and you have to always look at it carefully. And recently, but we are also using license, means we are very in the business. We are not making show. We are really selling product. And recently, the thing is going more, let's say, casual, elegant, with softer colors. You cannot escape from this, because all the fabrics are, you know, now everyone is going to be talking about protection of 360, blah blah blah, recycling. So also the fabric makers are not using a lot of colors. So a lot of wool are natural. So you have to use this reality of the market, of what is available to the fabric supplier, and make your, let's say, your story, your DNA logical with this trend. Because never forget that you have also the other side of the field, the guy developing fabrics for us. Because we go to Milano Unico, we go to Première Vision. So it's a fluid. You have to navigate in this, pick up what is right, but never forget that there is a direction. The market has a direction, and it's sometimes because of what example, protecting nature means less color, more etc. etc. So yes, we are keeping our DNA strong and taking something from outside.
Is there anything else, like you mentioned, that you try to avoid metals? It's just not really part of the story for Ungaro. Then is there anything else that's like a definite brand no, like you, or just something you do less of or avoid?
We are recently every season, let's say the menswear is looking for more comfort, but even if it's not the fashion side, the people in the streets, they always look for more comfort, more agility in the garments, etc. So we are working every season since now some years on jersey. So jersey, or let's say knitted fabric, are key for us. So we are expanding on this. So we are trying to use them from a suit to outerwear. So yes, this is another very important side of the thing, the technicity of the fabric.
Good.
Great, thank you.
Perfect.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Philippe. It was excellent to hear and see the workflow of what you're doing, and I guess the magic of what you do. We just see little snippets of it. So it's fascinating to see the sort of breakdown and the thought process of the little ideas of drawing the figure and the mapping of it. How long would you say you spend per illustration, or does it move up and down? Because I'm guessing you're quite quick.
I think I'm quite quick, yes, because I'm quite experienced too. Yeah. But yeah. Let's say a rough it can be 2 minutes, or and then on the tablet is, let's say, no, I don't know, half an hour maximum.
Right. Okay, and that's doing all the rendering and everything.
The most let's say the most long thing is making textile.
Yeah. So getting the print right is important. Getting the print right first, I think.
Prints are. You make more research. You drop more things aside. It's a different kind of mental architecture.
Yeah. Good. Excellent, Philippe. So thank you for all of that, and thanks for the information. And we'll be looking forward to sharing some more drawings and ideas later on in the project, and showing you the work and getting your super brains behind it. So thanks, Philippe, for today. And we managed to get the internet to work. Good. It survived, but thanks.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, so we'll speak to you soon, and hopefully in about 2 or 3 weeks we'll be showing you some magic in return.
Good. Happy to.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Pleasure.
Thanks.